WGN Weekend. Now, I know people, and I'm sure you know people, who found their match through a relationship that first budded online, and they are living the happily ever after dream. But there can be, at the same time, pitfalls aplenty. Now, I found my perfect match, Elizabeth Smith Lowe, about 15 years ago, my dear wife, through a referral of a mutual friend. But there are plenty of happy stories about finding the right one online, too. There are rules, though, to good dating online, and to be safe and certain, you got to follow them. Stef Safran is the brain behind Stef in the City, an online business, Natch. StefandTheCity.com is the website, a personal introduction service. She has been a specialist in this area since she was a contestant coordinator on The Dating Game. I'm sure you've got some great stories from working on that show.
That is really interesting because people who go on television, there's a lot of reasons, and it's not always love, guys. So when you watch The Bachelorette, keep that in mind.
What are some of the reasons? I want to know.
Well,
you want to marry somebody with money, or at least go out with somebody with money,
or you just want the exposure for your new book or your new your new album or something, or something other than the reasons that true love is not always the reason when you're talking on reality.
All right, dating online. This is different from using a dating service. Why don't you explain typically what is the genesis of two people coming together online?
Well, I think with online, what has happened is people are their own matchmaker, and they can go ahead and take and look at a selection, and people are finding.
So that means somebody wants to go out on a date, and what do? They go through their business cards.
We
of
hope
people they like,
that is what they want to do is go on a date. So there's a bunch of different services, and you can choose anything from like basic Match.com, which everybody pretty much knows about, to specifications for certain religions or backgrounds.
So this is using a dating service. It's not just a matter of saying, "Hey, I saw you at the office today. We work in adjoining cubicles. You want to go out for lunch?"
It's not like a misconnection type of thing. It's you have to put in a basic profile, which you hope is accurate. That's one of the biggest complaints that people have. And pictures are the norm. If you don't have a picture up, people are wondering why. And you pay a fee, and then you write people that you are interested in.
Right, and then you get some match, you make a choice at some point, but then you've got to still do some vetting and thinking. And, sometimes people aren't who they project themselves to be in the photograph even. Maybe it was taken 10 years ago.
I've even heard 20.
Really?
20, yeah.
And then a lot of men and women, but I'm guessing more men do this. They're married and playing this game.
There can definitely be that situation, and people really need to be aware that there are married people out there. There are people that are looking for the attention, whether it's because they're married or, whether they could also be in a relationship. They could be separated but not quite divorced, and they tell you.
I've watched Mad Men. I see the games Don Draper plays.
And that was back before there was the internet. So, it's much easier to find how people know each other and figure out if they're connected to somebody you know.
Well, you've come up with rules, basically to do what? To be sure that it's not a buyer beware situation, that you're getting what you're paying for.
Well, I think what people have to understand is that first of all, you want to go out and you want to have fun. But secondly, you also have to consider your safety. And you also have to consider the idea of the dating disaster stories. If something's really not right, it's a different ballgame when you're talking about online versus using a matchmaking service or having a friend fix you up. So, these rules, I also spoke with a personal investigator, Adam Delgado, and he, went through some of these things to let me know some of the safety issues as well, because as regular people out there, you think that you know it all because you watch something, but you really have to make sure that you are doing the right things to keep yourself safe.
These are common sense things, but I don't think it still occurs to people. It's only after you hear it they think, wow, that does make sense. For example, I like this. Use a separate email for your dating purposes. Now, why is that necessary?
Because let's say you use the email that you set up your Facebook account, for example. They can just go and find you, even though you didn't give out your last name or information, just by Googling your email. And people don't realize that. So, if you don't want people, some of the people you're going to encounter are not going to be people you're going to want to go out with. And they might not take rejection well. So you really should set up a separate account so you can't be traced online.
It's probably also a good idea to just keep the social side of your life experience in one email, and not like for your professional one.
Absolutely.
Bill Moller at WGNradio.com. I'm not going to be doing every kind of business on there. Meet in a public place. Mm-hmm. Makes all the sense in the world, certainly for the first date.
Yeah, some people maybe haven't been back in the dating world in a while, and they might think it's rude if someone, if they don't go pick up a woman. But really, you really need to meet in a public place for the first time you're meeting, because if you're not comfortable in the situation, you really want to be able to walk out, and have other people visibly see you. I mean, I've even heard, sometimes if you have any concerns, to even have a friend hang out at a table by you so that you have that.
That's not moving into the area of paranoia?
Well,
is it really a sensible thing to do?
It depends. If you're going really out of your way, let's say the person needs to meet, the person you live an hour apart and you're meeting at a halfway point. I mean, maybe afterwards you do that. You want to meet with your friend anyway, or you want your friend's opinion. It's not something that everybody has to do, but it's just another option that, that if you're still on the fence or a little uncomfortable, there's a way that you can, manage that and take your anxiety down.
You say that there are certain things that should be asked in your first conversation. I assume it's a phone conversation? Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone should have a phone conversation, because sometimes people find just by talking on the phone, the person might not be who they said, who they projected online and who they projected through emails. So you want to ask certain questions, where did they go to college, where they grew up, basic information like that, because then you can actually then go back and determine from that information. You can't just determine everything from a name anymore. Everybody has multiple names anyway. Yeah. Or similar names, or if they change their name or anything.
I thought this was very important. Do they have a Facebook and or a LinkedIn account? And if they don't, I would think anybody, particularly in the professional world, who doesn't, that is just by that fact alone very suspicious to me.
Yeah, I mean, everyone, even in the smallest towns, have Facebook accounts these days. And, with LinkedIn, it's become very popular. But if you can't find them on some avenue, if you can't find them even, if they're a high-level professional, you should be able to find them on their company's page even.
Are these tips on your website?
We will be posting these tips on our website, available for people to take a look, because, as we do it, we don't want people to be paranoid, but we want people to be aware. And there's been a lot of situations like with Match.com that, that came out in the public that people were really hearing that there were situations that there are great situations, but there's also situations you've got to be aware about. StefandtheCity.com. That's her and her business, and it's the website URL address as well. StefandtheCity.com. Stef, thank you so much. Thanks for having me today, Bill. Thanks for having